9 in 10 British manufacturers still face problems doing business with the European Union and difficulties in hiring skilled workers due to Brexit, according to a survey that shows the lingering impact of Britain's exit from the European Union. Britain signed a trade and cooperation agreement, the TCA, in December 2020 with the EU to allow tariff-free trade. But trade body Make UK said 90% of businesses felt post-Brexit trading arrangements were still disrupting trade with the 27 member state union. Since Britain left the EU, companies have had to deal with the new trade arrangements of the TCA merging with global disruption brought about by the COVID pandemic. That was said by Stephen Phipson, Chief Executive of Make UK. Accessing skilled staff from the EU remained an issue for firms 3 years after the end of freedom of movement of workers, with 44% of companies noting difficulties. Changing to the UK's shortage occupation list of necessary skilled workers has been slow to recognise the record labour shortages across the sector, the report said. And Make UK said Britain should work with the EU to simplify customs paperwork, introduce a trade programme to improve the export of goods between the UK and the Union, and make it easier to access EU workers to help alleviate skills shortages. And British Prime Minister Sunak is under pressure to reduce record levels of migration at the same time. One of his 5 key pledges to voters before an election expected next year, with the opposition Labour Party leading in opinion polls. The government announced plans for stricter visa measures on Monday to cut the number of migrants arriving by legal routes, something trade unions and businesses say will even create more challenges. Despite facing border delays and problems with customs paperwork, nearly 3 in 4 firms were exporting to the EU, as the Make UK survey of 2019 manufacturers showed. 219. Sunak eased tensions with the bloc earlier this year by striking a deal on post-Brexit trade rules for Northern Ireland, and in September reached a separate agreement to rejoin the EU's Horizon Science Research Programme. But business investment in Britain has largely flatlined since the Brexit referendum in 2016. And Keir Starmer, leader of the opposition Labour Party, has promised to improve the trading relationship if his Labour Party wins an election that is indeed expected in 2024. But there's also some good news. 11 of the world's largest technology companies, including Amazon, Alphabet's Google, and Microsoft, signed an agreement with the British government on Thursday to step up efforts to combat online fraud. And this agreement, known as the Online Fraud Charter, will be signed at the meeting chaired by Home Secretary James Cleverly in London. The Online Fraud Charter is a voluntary agreement signed by eBay, Meta and its platforms Facebook and Instagram, Microsoft's LinkedIn, Match Group, Snapchat, ByteDance's TikTok, and Google's YouTube, in addition to Amazon, Google, and Microsoft. And companies undertake to implement the measures that apply to their companies within 6 months. And measures include simple and quick ways to report fraudulent material and close cooperation with law enforcement authorities to combat fraudsters. The companies will also commit to increasing verification levels on peer-to-peer marketplaces, and people using online dating services will have the opportunity to prove they are not scammers. According to the UK government, fraud accounts for around 40% of all crimes in England and Wales, with data from industry body UK Finance showing that almost 80% of all authorised push payment scams occur online. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak said in a statement that fraud is now the most common crime in the UK, with online fraudsters targeting the most vulnerable members of society. He stressed that by working with these tech giants, the government will continue to crack down on fraudsters to ensure they do not find shelter online. And this initiative is considered a world-first crackdown on online fraud, targeting scams, fake ads, and romance scams. Microsoft also wants to spend a total of £2.5 billion on expanding its data centers for artificial intelligence in Great Britain over the next 3 years. That's the other good news. With its largest single investment in the United Kingdom, the US group will more than double the size of its data centers. By 2026, more than 20,000 advanced graphic processors will be deployed in the UK, used for machine learning and the development of AI models. That was said by Microsoft Country Manager Claire Barclay. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak spoke of a turning point for the future of AI infrastructure and development. The Conservative politician recently tried to position his country as a pioneer on the topic at an international conference on the regulation of AI. Microsoft emphasized that the investment will help train more than 1 million people for the AI economy and support AI security and research efforts with government and academia. Most recently, Microsoft had trouble in Great Britain. The competition regulator CMA initially blocked the billion-dollar takeover of the video game giant Activision Blizzard. When the US giant then made concessions, the British competition authorities finally approved the deal. And if you want to see something else, the next video is right here in the end screen. I'll see you there. I'll be back.